So introducing our next speaker, Mr. Rickson Singson Ke. Rickson is the VP of Education of Cloud Security Alliance Philippine chapter, and he spent his 23 years in various IT capabilities from different industries. He is currently occupied in project involving transformation, analytics, mobile platform, and IT security. His consultancy engagements focuses on digital transformation, culture hacks, data privacy, and of course, cybersecurity. He is also a dedicated educator who teaches in the RVR College of Business in the De La Salle University and also College of St. Benilde School of Professional and Continuing Education space. Please welcome Rickson Ke to present on security transformation, the answer to the post-pandemic threats.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Cyber Attack Manila 2020. Our topic this afternoon is about security transformation, the answer to the post-pandemic threats. Allow me to proceed to the agenda. The threat landscape stages is divided into three. You have the pre-pandemic, the pandemic, and the new normal. And I'll be discussing also after that, security transformation. I'll share with you a framework that you will be able to use to transform your security practices. And finally, a takeaway, a set of quotes for takeaway. Let me start now with Industry 4.0. As we all know, the previous industries 1.0, 2.0. The first one is about the steam engine, then moving into mass production factories, and 3 is about the web and the internet, and 4 now is the merging of 3 worlds: the biological world, the digital world, and of course the physical world. And all these 3 now produce so many new innovations and digitization efforts that change the landscape of everything. The key word now is digital transformation. This is BC, meaning before COVID. And before COVID-19 hit, 92% of companies thought that their business models, the practices that they're using, the processes need to change given digitization. A good example or an evidence of this is the Standard & Poor's 500 companies. The lifespan of companies went down from an average of 61 years for each company to 22 years, from 1958 up to the current. And that alone says that if you don't change or adjust to digitization, then you'll be getting an early graduation. Allow me now to share the threats that leads towards the pre-pandemic. That's in terms of security concerns. So we have now the top is malware, infections of worms, trojans, and then you have phishing and phishing attacks. You have ransomware. All of these, notice that these top threats during the pre-pandemic are focused on the defense and perimeter defense of the enterprise and institutions and individuals. And these attacks are usually focused on the, of course, the people. And if you look at it, that particular attack vector has always been really an attack on the weakest link, which is the person or the human security. And we're not yet even able to find a solution for it. Then came COVID-19. And as we all know, with COVID-19, it has drastically changed a lot of things, from being forced to work from home, study from home, and forcing companies to digitize, provide e-commerce, online solutions, products, services. It's an overnight turnaround, acceleration of Industry 4.0, should I say. So when we were asking a lot of surveys during my webinars, we were asking who's driving digital transformation in your organization or company. So we were giving them choices of CEOs, CTOs, or sometimes CDOs or Chief Digital Officers. But of course, most of them answered COVID-19. It's COVID-19 who forced its way or the way of digital transformation into companies nowadays. And there's no exception to that. It's a global phenomenon that has happened. And during the pandemic, these are now the statistics that you can refer to. And everyone can verify that the attack vector has changed. So from the perimeter areas of the enterprise, you now have launch attacks on the areas of remote desktop, RDPs, email scams, and a lot of websites came out with COVID-19, coronavirus, pandemic, those keywords, and they're in billions. So imagine the efforts of attacks, the innovations being put into attacks. Of course, my favorite would be the Zoom bombs, Zoom accounts, and people just crash into your Zoom and then mess it up. And these are the threats that are happening during the pandemic. And also, you have still ransomware and all these other flavors. And still, the common denominator is an attack on human security. So during the COVID-19, the 10 threats, we now proceed to the digital transformation AD, meaning after disruption. So we have here from Beth of Amazon saying that we are frequently doing things that we've never done before. For this reason, there's often no playbook to teach nor expert to follow. So we empower people to try new things and learn along the way. And it seems that true digital transformation is being embraced by our attackers or hackers is because they've been applying innovation, advanced sophistication, digitization, and in fact, a lot of innovations from digital to physical side. And because of that, we are lagging, and we have to also do catch up as an enterprise, as individuals, as organizations and government. And that is the true digital transformation that we need to face. So we have here at the center of this diagram, you have digital and biological and physical life. So you have here the center of Industry 4.0, all the innovations that's happening on the world of digital, physical, and biological. At the top of it all, during the pandemic, and the future is we don't see work from home, going back to work at the workplace again. It's going to be a hybrid. And because of that, the threats that are being presented from work from home, as you've seen the top 10, the 10 threats by ZDNet a while ago, you would see that these threats would continue to persist, attacking remote desktops, because the enterprise is well protected, unlike the home security, which is not as strong. And because of that, those are very good interests on the side of the bad guys. Next is distance learning. Same as your work from home, you also do study from home. And distance learning, as much as we want to, is again going to continue to be there. And it's not just online learning, it's distance learning. It's a combination of homeschool and all these new approaches in correspondence and new approaches in education. Again, the threats are also as interesting in that area. And we would expect more and more this coming months. It's going to be a hybrid when students start doing both physical and digital learning at the same time. Below it is an industry change, the industry of the health or medicine or medical. So you have telehealth investments, huge investments now, because digitization is very much poured into that industry. And because of that, the threats that are poured in to also as interested parties in digitization, we have to make sure that the threats are considered, are observed. And on the right side, you have now digital enterprise. You have companies that are embarking in digitization efforts. They automate everything. They put everything online, on the cloud, application of new technologies in the areas of IoT, AR, VR, even all these emerging technologies being applied not just on the enterprise, and it's scrolling into individual or in home spaces. And because of that, the threats would also continue to evolve in that area. Now, below it is back to physical. Notice that because companies are investing heavily in their enterprise space, those hackers that are interested are now moving outside their comfort zone, the four corners of their air-conditioned home space. They're now moving out. So they're doing social engineering, not just in the areas of email, digital, even voice phishing or phishing, SMS phishing, SMS phishing, and these are examples of those social engineering being implemented or applied. So imagine your security guard or your reception in your company, and somebody would just go in and ask, what time would your CEO be dropping by the office? So if your security or your receptionist is not trained to answer, then you would give the exact answer. So that's back to physical for you. And finally, the lowest part there is virtual events. We're expecting more of these events than what we have now. And because we have more of these events, later on, the threats that are associated with such technology and application would also grow and evolve. And that's going to be problems of event managers later on. All of these future threats that's going to face us, there has to be a way for us to defend ourselves. The only way for that is to make sure that we continuously do security. And not just security. We have to apply security transformation. So what is security transformation all about? Let me start by doing two faces of coin, sharing with you the business side and the security side of the enterprise. So here, business focus is always on the customer. You always hear that customer is king. On the security side, we apply the principle of least privilege. So we will not give you access if you don't need it. So sometimes you have now somebody asking for information about certain customers, but if it's not, you're not supposed to have it, but you cannot provide the service to the customer, then most of the time the business gets the good end of the conflict, and it's given to them the access. And because they want to provide the best customer experience for each of the products and services that enterprises produce and develop, on the side of the CISO, we just want to earn the trust, not just of the enterprise, but also of the customers. And these are two sides of the coin. Again, when you have an example of frictionless experience, hotels in Manila before the pandemic, you will go into a hotel and then you would ask for a password. But you have the more progressive, innovative hotels that you just go in and automatically you'll be connected to the Wi-Fi, and it's fast. So like Shang in Fort, it's a good example. But of course, on the side of security, that can't be, because I cannot trace if there's going to be a security incident. I cannot do tracing. We cannot do forensics. It's not enough. We need to know who these people are in these devices. So the principle of non-repudiation is very important on the side of security. And on the side of business, again, it's faster response. Focus on delivering the right service and products immediately to the market. Again, on the side of the CISO, we always apply security challenge on everything. From the login of customers, we always ask them to do the CAPTCHA, apply two-factor authentication, and so on and so forth, which now makes it a bit slower in terms of providing products and services. Again, these are two sides of business and security. And again, business is focused on cost effectivity and data privacy. On the side of the CISO, we're now focused on doing the right investment because we have now limited budgets for security. Although, you know, it's part of digitization, but people still envision security as a cost. And because of that, cost effectivity and spendings are again antithesis to each other. And finally, on the CISO side, we offer data protection. On the business side, it's data privacy. Again, if you notice, all of these are, it's like east and west. It's like, oil and water. They don't mix. What if there's a way for us to really find a way for them to work together? That is why I present to you this framework, the yin-yang approach to security transformation. If there's black, there's always the white. If there's happiness, there's loneliness, sadness. And in this case, the business is considered to be, if you look at the design, it's actually two sides. It's always, there's a black portion and there's a white portion. So we're treating the business as the black. We talk about disruptions, we talk about emerging technologies, big data, human interfaces, digital transformation, customer experience, artificial intelligence, all these emerging new trends, innovations. So this is the drastic side, very moving side. But on the other side, it's the stiff side. We talk about risk, compliance, we talk about protection, next generation security, we talk about data privacy there, even new concepts like zero trust. Again, they don't meet, they don't merge together. But with the yin-yang approach, we would appreciate that if there's one in the business side, there has to be something on the security side. And both of these elements should work together in one homogeneous item or element, which is yin-yang. That's why at the center of both of these different worlds is the culture, the common denominator where you can merge together the yin and the yang for you to be able to deploy the right security transformation. So that's yin-yang for you. Yin-yang looks for the equilibrium. We have here change management. So education and culture hacking. So again, culture is a vital denominator for yin-yang. And we cannot do yin-yang on one side. So we have to educate both the business and security. So security has to take the perspective of the business, and business has to take the perspective of security for us to achieve what we call later on a ecology or a security ecology, which travels beyond the enterprise yin-yang and to the value chain. So you'll see now partners having the same culture and practice of security as you, which is part of security transformation. Because later on, the focus is that flexible and integrated distributed security on an open architecture for sustainability and resilience. So that's security transformation using the yin-yang equilibrium or balance. So we have here a takeaway from Sion. When CISOs focus on assets and technical mechanisms and not on the experience of users, the systems will fail from day one. Immediately it will fail. It's because your users will look for a way to go around all your controls, and this would increase the risk. So it says here that not unless we work together and we understand each other's perspective in a yin-yang, in a balanced method, in a balanced transformation, that's the only way that we can assure that we're doing the first few steps right. And we have here also that digitization is here. It's not going to arrive, it's already here. The future is now. We are living in this life of cyber society. People are online, we have our digital lives, and we cannot pretend anymore that we can be exempted from digitization and the effects of Industry 4.0. We have here also from Christopher, I didn't want to grow bigger teams because you give the impression that it will be fixed by someone else. Here, security is everyone's responsibility. That is true. Part of security transformation is putting security in the roles of the whole enterprise, not just the CISOs, not just the security analysts and security team, but everyone else, including the business. So security transformation, again, touches on the wholeness of the application of security in terms of leveraging, rather than adding people to your team, you can do security ambassadors on the end user side to apply now the right policies and practices and culture in your workplace. And here, the next is, not even the most powerful man in the world is 100% secure. There's no such thing as 100% security, but we try to strive as close as to 100% because our hackers are also as innovative and they're getting more sophisticated and they will not stop until they get our information. And because of that, we have to continuously transform, and security transformation is not a product, it's not a service, but rather it's a journey, and it's a never-ending journey. And finally, much like this COVID-19 crisis that we have and the security challenges that we're all facing across the enterprise and our individual lives, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. And I'll end my presentation here as an inspiration to everyone that we are living in a tough time, but what which does not kill us will make us stronger. And this human species that we're living in, would continue to exist. So, thank you everyone. Thank you for your time. Good afternoon, and stay safe.
Let's go back to the pandemic. Over the past few months, what have you noticed about companies? They have to shift, they have to adapt or die based on these circumstances. Obviously, some companies have better response as compared to others. So, what areas are organizations and enterprise doing good in, and what do you think are the areas that need to be improved or needs to be worked on?
So, JR, what's good about during this time is there's no manual or rule book, or even a standard that talks about doing what is right and wrong during the pandemic. And most companies now, they do digital transformation their own way. And there's no coach, there's no mentor, they just do it. And what's good about now is you get to try and experiment and do things straightforward as what you feel, what your business needs. But the formula here is you need to do it fast. You need to fail fast and recover fast. And that's what most companies that are progressive and surviving are doing. They're failing fast, they're standing up again, and they're sustaining themselves, recovering themselves. And that's what really makes the difference now for most companies and individuals out there.
So you've talked about the good side. From your perspective, what have you seen that maybe needs a little bit more improvement, or what could have been done better the past few months for both government and for enterprise as well?
That's an interesting question, JR. But I'll give you an inspiring answer. The human race, we've been the top of the food chain in this planet for years, for centuries even, for millions of years. Of course, before the dinosaurs extinction. But we've been the superior race mainly because we know how to adopt. For those companies who fail to adopt, I'm very sad for them because it's really going to be the end for them, the extinction. And most companies thought that the old normal would come back. I think that's the failure of the race, that if we assume that we will not improve, and the evolution process would continue and continue, and the disruption would also continue even during the new normal, the coming new normal. It's a never-ending evolution process. That's why for me, we want to stay on the top of the food chain, and there's no other way but to continuously evolve and improve. So I've seen companies who have given up, and I feel sad for them, but I would still continue to inspire the companies who are ready and who are willing to really survive and keep on moving. And so are the individuals out there. It doesn't mean that you lost your job, it ends there. This is a never-ending evolution. So fight your way out.
Inspiring words from Rickson. Also, as you may know, Rickson is from the education sector. Rickson is a lecturer at the College of St. Benilde. Rickson, it's not just a shift working from the office to home, right? Students have also shifted from school to home. Aside from, you mentioned earlier, Zoom bombing, what are the risks that parents might not be aware of, especially during these times?
So as I've shared, now we started the discussion that there's no roadmap here. It's the first time that everyone is doing it. First time for the schools, first time for the teachers, first time for the students, the parents even. Before you see parents in the morning sending their kids to school and then just pick them up at nighttime or late afternoon. But now they're together in one seat. So sometimes we were joking with among our colleagues in the education sector that sometimes when we teach, we see two heads in one screen. It's actually the student, the learner, and the parent. So that's what we're facing now. These are new things and new practices that we're bombarded with. And the threats that are evolving are also, following the trend. And the only way for us to really go through this is to practice digital hygiene. So digital hygiene on the side of the learner, the faculty, and of course, we need to be patient. We have to be patient with the school. It's the first time they're doing online. The infrastructures are not yet there. But overnight, we expect online payment, end-to-end self-service learning. It's not that fast. And we don't expect teachers to be ready to be entertainers online. But and you can hear classes that would extend up to 6 hours or even longer, and it's a no. But who would teach us but ourselves? So again, the effort now is to do this as a community and as a global community, because this is not just in the country but across the world, and to understand that security, digital hygiene, learning, and even surviving is a global effort. And I've seen countries that does the research in COVID vaccine individually as countries, which is again one area of what the industry is doing wrong. But I believe that this is a world problem, and the solution should be done as a world effort. And it's a global community effort for me.
Exactly, strongly agree. Everyone's under stress, at the moment. No one could have predicted what exactly would have happened, but I agree with you in a way that this is a collective effort. The only way to defeat this virus, the only way to overcome this is to work together. We don't have a choice, and together, I think we can push forward and learn from a situation like this.
That's right, JR. As my last slide said, which does not kill you would make you stronger, and we should do it as a community.
Strongly agree.
As a human race. So that's it.
Before I let you go, Rickson, any last pieces of advice for the audience?
Well, just that. It's a community effort, global community effort, and we're already here. And the only way for us to go through the next stage of our evolution is to work together as a community, as one world. And there is no better way to start it off than individually in our homes. So, well, I want to see you on the top of the food chain, the human race. So let's go through this crisis together.
Thank you.